Hello there everyone, uxwbill here once again, and guess what folks? We have a new arrival at Walsh Motors. I think the best way to describe this would be to say, Ranger danger. What we have here is a 1987 Ford Ranger XLT pickup truck. It is four-wheel drive, and there is quite a story behind this. My dad, who carries the mail, saw this truck sitting on his mail route, and I want to say that it had been sitting there with a for sale sign in it for several months, if not a year. The woman who owned it could seemingly not unload it no matter what. And finally, it sat there long enough, I guess you could say it became an attractive nuisance, and he decided to buy it. What he gave for it basically covered the cost of the new tires that she just put on it. It is, as previously mentioned, four-wheel drive. It has a locking, or at least limited slip, rear differential fitted to it, which is a nice touch. And here's a look at it from the back side. Now I realize there are some people out there who would criticize us for our acquisitiveness when it comes to vehicles. But the simple fact of the matter is, we enjoy tinkering with them and playing with them. And this truck does not look at all bad for its age. It's really in quite amazing shape. In fact, the interior is almost perfect. The headliner has come down and has some holes in it that have been hastily taped up. But for the most part, this interior looks just as good as it probably did all the way back in 1987. Even the dash pad is pretty much intact. The woman who owned this owned it since it was new. She traded it. She traded in an 85 Oldsmobile toward the purchase of this truck. We have all the documentation for it. You can see there is no tachometer here. It is a manual transmission, and my personal thought is that it's a little bit better to have an automatic transmission, but I realize some people might differ with that in a four-wheel drive vehicle, mainly because it's easier to slip an automatic when traction is questionable without abusing the clutch so much. This is a 5-speed manual, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and an overdrive range, and then of course down there is the transfer case shifter for the four-wheel drive function. This truck was not delivered from the factory with air conditioning, but she had it added by the dealership, and to this day, folks, the air conditioning on this truck, we've tested it, and it blows ice cold air. Does a very nice job, and appears to be running R12 refrigerant to this very day. The radio is not such a happy story. Basically, it is out of its mind. The display lights up, but nothing shows up on it. If you attempt to turn it on, there is a loud pop from the speakers, and occasionally you can get random reception of some AM station, but it fades out within a couple of minutes. We have a ton of maintenance receipts for the truck, stuff that was done to it over the years. Have the owner's manual as well for the 1987 Ranger. Oh, let's see here. There's a look at the headliner. You can see how it's been taped up. But the carpet's in pretty good shape. It could use a good vacuuming. And while it's rusty, it's not all rusted out completely. It has 99,000, come on, focus, 697 original miles on it. There's a series of indicators there in the dash. Some of them you can probably read. There's one for water and fuel if this thing had been equipped with an optional diesel engine. There's check engine, which the manual actually says is an unused indicator. Instead of a diesel engine, like it could have had, and I have actually seen one of these trucks with the optional diesel engine in place many years ago, this has a Ford 2.3 liter fuel-injected 4-cylinder engine. Okay, so I went ahead and popped the hood, and the first thing I noticed is that somehow or another we gained a hood light. That was not there previously. The bulb had been removed from that, and at first we thought maybe it was being left on, but I guess it works, or at least it hasn't nailed the battery yet if it doesn't. There's the Ford engine, 2.3 liter 4-cylinder. Most probably throttle body injected would be my guess. Power steering pump, and then down here is the air conditioning, which, as was pointed out on the build sheet for the truck, was added after the fact by the dealer. It's got a relatively new CarQuest battery in it. And there you can see, I think the people who installed the air conditioning on this did it in a little bit of an interesting way, because it looks like the prescribed routing for the hose was up here, and then there's another one with a red plug in it down there. But if it works, it works. That's the only problem with this truck. There is a noise in the top end of the engine, and at times it is a fairly loud noise. Sounds like valve noise or a lifter or something along those lines. Every now and again it does go away, which makes us wonder if the oil pump is actually doing its job or if the pickup screen might somehow be filthy. But other than that, everything on this truck works, including the four-wheel drive, and we have tested that. It's my understanding that the keykeeper took it out to the cow pasture and played with the four-wheel drive functionality a little bit. So finally, Furhead's Jeep has got a friend to go romping in the mud with. And what our plans are for this vehicle, I don't know yet. My dad kind of views it as a fun little toy to play with, but he is entertaining thoughts of fixing up whatever's wrong with it, turning around, and selling it at some point for the future. But this is the latest addition to the fleet at Walsh Motors. I would actually start this up, but I don't happen to have the keys for it. And right now I'm trying to trip on a tire. But that's about all I can think of to say about this thing. So thank you for watching, and feel free to leave a comment if you have one.